Welcome to the Full-Time FBA Show. In each episode, it's our goal to help you turn part-time hours into a full-time income selling almost anything on Amazon. And now, your hosts of the show, Stephen and Rebecca Smotherman.
Welcome to episode number 301 of the Full-Time FBA Show. Today, we're going to be talking about what is holding you back from 10K month sales. I mean, making 10K a month is a huge goal some of you might have. We're going to talk about what's stopping you. And to help talk through this is my wife, Rebecca. What's up, Rebecca?
Hi there. Looking forward to getting into this topic. We'll talk about this more, but 10K in sales per month is kind of a benchmark for if you're doing that, then you're making six figures. And if you're doing that, you're looking at a full-time income. Mm-hmm. So it's a big milestone for sellers. Obviously, that's not where a lot of sellers want to stop. They want to do even more than that. But this is a big milestone, and we want to get into that on this episode of the Full-Time FBA Show. Before we get much further into this episode, I want to let you know that we have some really, really cool stuff coming up at Full-Time FBA. And the best way for you not to miss out is to make sure you're subscribed to our email newsletter at fulltimefba.com/subscribe. We're getting ready to start some big steps that are going to lead to amazing momentum in your FBA business. And trust me, you're going to want in on it from the very beginning. So go to fulltimefba.com/subscribe and then keep an eye out for our announcements. Plus, you'll get some helpful freebies when you sign up.
All right. So today's episode is for those of you who have started selling on Amazon a while back and maybe tasted a little bit of success. Maybe it was earlier this year, or maybe it was in years past. Side note, if you just started selling yesterday or you're planning to start tomorrow, this episode is still going to be an inspirational listen for you as well. But if you've been selling for a while, you've made great strides at first, but now you've kind of plateaued and you're hovering just below 10K months and you've been at that mark for a while now and you're capable of doing more. You know that. You dream about six figures on Amazon and you just haven't quite reached it yet. And you're constantly wondering, what is the missing puzzle piece? What am I missing that's going to help me break through to 10K months? And so we know that feeling. We were there in the early days. And since then, we've coached thousands of sellers. And we see the same thing over and over again in almost every single one of those sellers that we've helped coach. We come across roadblocks that are common that keep sellers from scaling their Amazon business to the point of making a full-time income, of reaching 10K per month and beyond. And so today and the rest of this episode, we're going to be covering those roadblocks of how you can bust right through them or at least turn them into meaningless speed bumps.
Okay, let's get started. The first thing we look for when we're talking with coaching students about why their sales have become stagnant and they can't break that plateau to 10K months is whether or not they have consistent inventory flowing into the Amazon warehouses. Do you do your sourcing in inconsistent spurts, chasing clearance sales here and there, and going for long gaps of time between sending in your shipments? It truly is this basic. Mm-hmm. In order to have consistent sales on Amazon and consistent growth in your sales and your profits, you need to consistently be sending in inventory to the FBA warehouses. And in order to consistently have new inventory, you need to consistently be sourcing or reordering your replens. You would be surprised how many people we talk to who don't have consistent sales. And then when we ask them about their sourcing schedule, they're like, well, I don't really have a schedule. I just source when I have time. And let me tell you, friend, that is not how to run a business. That is not how you break through a profit plateau. It is next to impossible to have consistent 10K months if you're just sourcing when you have time or when you come across a good sale. You must develop a schedule. You need to develop a dependable pipeline of replenishable items, and you can automate your sourcing also with a leads list, and we highly recommend OA Success Leads.
All right, the next thing we need to look at if you want to scale your business to more than 10K each month, which is what it's going to take at a minimum if you want to earn a full-time income on Amazon, the next thing you need to check on is your pricing strategy. Are you setting your prices when you list your items on Amazon and then forget about them completely until it's time to deal with your excess inventory? Sadly, that is a common mistake sellers make. A couple of ways you can solve this problem. One is to learn more about how the buy box works and make sure you're priced competitively. You don't need to fall in the trap of thinking you need to be the lowest price in order to still get the buy box. And even if you're priced higher than the lowest price, you need to set that competitive price strategically. And we don't have a lot of time to talk about it here, but we will link in the show notes to a previous episode where we go into more information about the buy box, which happened to be the second episode of our podcast. I mean, the buy box is that important, and understanding it is very important. So episode number 2 is where that episode is. And then another way you can solve your pricing issue is to set up an automatic repricer. This is the most efficient and profitable way to increase both your sales and your profits, just by making sure your prices adjust automatically to stay competitive. Again, we're going to link to the repricer that we use in our show notes. Basically, you're going to want to check out our show notes page and the link of fulltimefba.com/301 for the show notes, because it seems like we're going to have quite a list of links in that show notes page already.
Next up, let's talk about trying to be a one-person operation. Y'all know it's one of my favorite topics, outsourcing.
We know, but tell us again.
Well, earlier I said it's next to impossible to scale to 10K months if you're sending in inventory inconsistently. And along the same lines, I would say it's next to impossible to scale to that point if you're not outsourcing in multiple ways. You truly cannot run your business all by yourself and expect to make that much money each month. You're going to have to spend some money to make even more in sales and profits. I'm going to tell you a really hard truth right now. Online resellers are some of the most frugal people out there. I love you for it, y'all, but it can also really hold you back. I mean, sometimes it can hold you back. If you're trying to hold back from spending even an extra penny so that you can make more ROI on one product, but you're working yourself into the ground in order to do it, you're not going to be able to scale your business. You must spend money on having someone help you if you want to grow to 10K months. Spending a low amount of money for a living wage for an overseas VA can free up your time to do much more profitable CEO level tasks in your business. And so can hiring a prep center or paying a local assistant to do lower level tasks.
All right, let's talk about one more. We commonly see sellers who are trying so hard to get to 10K a month or 6 figures in a year, and they truly are trying hard. They're working their tails off, they're spending their time sourcing and shipping and all the things that they think that they need to be doing in their online reselling business, but they're missing a huge key component of seeing their Amazon disbursements grow. They are completely mismanaging their cash flow. Sometimes it's because they are truly mismanaging it, and other times it's because they're not even paying attention to their cash flow.
Yeah, this is a big one. Some people just don't even pay attention to their numbers, and they have no idea where their money goes each month.
Yeah, and if they're not paying attention, then I can almost guarantee you that the money isn't going into their bank account like it should if they're really wanting to grow their business the right way. It's such a common issue that we see with sellers. You're spending your profits instead of reinvesting it into more inventory. You're paying for too many subscriptions that you don't use. You don't look at your bank statements each month to see where that money is going. Or you don't set a budget, both a sourcing budget or an operational budget. And both of those things are pretty basic that you want to be doing on a regular basis, like weekly or monthly. And if you're not managing your cash flow, then I promise you that your cash is just flowing right away from you.
And that is the worst. It's just the worst feeling to know that you could bring home more money at the end of the month or the end of the year if it hadn't been for mismanagement on your own part.
Yeah, and all these things are part of a broader mindset shift. And we want to make sure that if you are aiming to set yourself up for long-term Amazon success, then you want a full-time income for the foreseeable future, then you need to shift from a hustle mindset to a CEO mindset. You need to run your business like a business, not as a fly-by-night operation just looking to make a quick buck.
So to help you know where you are in that process of scaling your business, we've put together an assessment for you to use with your Amazon business so that you can evaluate your current stage of business growth, and then we can help you determine your next steps. We're doing this assessment leading up to our Momentum FBA 3-day sprint that's coming up very soon. So to get your assessment and get signed up for that 3-day sprint, you can go to fulltimefba.com/assessment. Check it out so that you can see where you are in your business growth and which steps you need to take next. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Full-Time FBA Show. As a reminder, all of the links we mentioned today and the show notes for this episode can be found at fulltimefba.com/301 because this is episode number 301.
And next week on the Full-Time FBA Show, we're going to be talking about sprinting versus marathons. No, we are not rebranding as a running podcast, but there's so much wisdom that Amazon FBA sellers can learn looking at sprinting versus marathoning. Is that a word, marathoning?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we're going to talk about that next week on the Full-Time FBA Show.
That's all for this episode of the Full-Time FBA Show. So head over to fulltimefba.com/podcast, where you'll find the show notes and links from this episode. While you're there, subscribe to our newsletter where you'll get several free downloads of our popular and helpful Amazon FBA resources. Now, take action on what you've learned today so you can find success at turning part-time hours into a full-time income with Amazon FBA.